Do, 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 do.
Okay. How you doing, Zach?
I'm doing great. I've been looking forward to speaking to you. As soon as I heard the song "Tears of a Clown" with Smokey Ray, I thought to yeah, with you know what I mean, with Brian Ray, Smokey and Ray. Well, see what I did there? I did Smokey Ray. I put you two together. That's
I
fantastic.
like it. It's a new thing.
Yeah, as soon as I heard the song, I thought, wow, this is a number one hit. And then I don't know who it was on Twitter that tweeted about it, but I made a big deal about it on Twitter. And I think I got a like from you or somebody on your end. Maybe it was little Steven. I don't know. But I really, really love this. Love this song.
Thank you so much, Zach. Man, what a treat. It's been a blast from the very beginning, from the inception to to the finished product. And I'm super pleased with it. I'm glad you like it too.
Well, we've been playing it on KKDJ in Fresno, and of course it's part of our ZachMartinRocks.com radio stream. And I can't get enough of it. It's one of those songs you can listen to over and over again and never get bored. But before we talk more about what you're up to now and the song with Smokey, we have a thing what we call Rock and Roll Bio. And Brian Ray, today is your rock and roll biography, where you just tell us all about you. And I might ask a couple of questions, but go ahead, Brian. It's all yours.
Okay. All right. Thanks, man. Well, let's see. Way back in the beginning, so I've been around for a little while, as your listeners may or may not know. My first touring opportunity, my first professional touring opportunity came when I was 18 years old, playing with my high school band as a backup band for Bobby Boris Pickett, doing the Monster Mash at amusement parks and theaters.
That's great.
For a season of Scary. And we had about a 45-minute show replete with a hunchback who threw fried chicken wings out into the audience, claiming they were bat wings, and scaring the hell out of kids. And that soon led to being introduced to a guy named Phil Kaufman, who some of your listeners may have heard of regarding Graham Parsons. Anyway, the great Phil Kaufman was also road managing Etta James at the time. And Etta James was an astounding performer, as you might know, and a unparalleled rhythm and blues singer. Well, Philip took me to see Etta James at the Troubadour, and it was love at first sight. I just couldn't believe what I was seeing. And soon after that, Phil Kaufman told me that Etta was rehearsing up in the Hollywood Hills and that her guitar player couldn't make it. Did I want to stay overnight at his pad and go up there and sit in, see if there was a spot for me to just kind of fill in? And, I'm 18 years old, and I said, hell yeah. And I got in the back of his green equipment van and went up the hill to the rehearsal, and there was Etta James and some other great players. And, just a little greenhorn, long-haired blonde kid from Glendale. But anyway, I sat down and kind of held my own. At the end of this jam and rehearsal, Etta turned to Phil Kaufman and said, hey, I like that little white kid. And she came up to me and asked if I would play in Long Beach at a show the next night. And, of course, my answer was yes. And that led to, 15 years of being her musical director and her guitar player, traveling the world with her, and which led in turn to 15 more years of recording and writing with her and doing soundtrack stuff with her. So it was a very long and satisfying musical relationship.
That's an amazing relationship.
What's that? Go ahead.
I said that's an amazing relationship. I did not know that about you. It just blows me away. Etta James, the great song "At Last," one of my wife's favorites, by the way. But go ahead. What happened after that?
Yeah, it was one of those songs, probably the most played at the first dance in weddings in the whole world. But anyway, yeah, Etta was remarkable, and we were very, very close. Etta was also generous enough to let me play with other people while I was with her because she couldn't really promise, a full schedule. And being a young guy trying to get his life together to move out of the house and to get my own pad, I needed a little bit more work as well. So I was also working with the other bands at the same time, one or two bands that happened to be on a label that she was on too, Warner Brother Records. So there I was, sort of getting my roots dug down into the ground with Etta James and with other people. That led a little bit later to playing with a variety of female singers. And I was on a streak for playing with women for years. I thought, is it always going to be like this? I mean, it's fine, but, is this the way it is? What a pattern. And soon I wrote a song for the great Smokey Robinson in 1986 called One Heartbeat. And that song became a big hit for him. Top 10 pop, number one R&B, number one AC on 3 formats. And that was a hit in 1987, and that really changed my world. I went on to go to play with many other people, Rita Coolidge, Willie DeVille. Then I spent some time in France playing with their two premier artists over there, Mylène Farmer and Johnny Hallyday. But, the thing about Etta is that as a result of playing with Etta, who other artists adored, I got to play with a myriad of other artists like Keith Richards and John Lee Hooker and Van Morrison and Dr. John and Bonnie Raitt, Carlos Santana. All these people used to come and play with us and sit in with us. So as a young kid, I was just, really cutting my teeth on the best music with some very unusually fine luminaries. And it just gave me the feeling like I had made the right choice in life and I belonged. And that's all as a result of her trusting me, just a little kid from Glendale.
Well,
and that brings us way up into sort of 17 years ago where my life changed again radically. And I found myself with a one-time audition to play one song with Paul McCartney at a pregame show at the Super Bowl in 2002, which led to, a lot more than one song. Here we are 17 years later.
Did you feel like Chris Farley in that Saturday Night Live bit? You're up on stage, you're playing guitar with Paul McCartney, and you're going, what the heck? That kind of a...
Yeah.
You just look at him, you're like, I can't believe I'm here. Now, you and I have that in common, that I'm one of the very few people that are still around in radio that has gotten to interview Paul McCartney, Ringo Starr, and the various Yoko Ono. I was a little too young when he passed away, when he was assassinated, but there's very few of us that actually get to have one-on-one time with these sort of people. And when you look back, that's got to give you a good feeling and a great sense of accomplishment just because of that.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. Yeah, thanks. It's I look back at it and I just go, wow, this happened. It's remarkable. And, here I am. This is, it's the life that I asked for. It's the life that I dreamed of. And, it's an honor. Yeah,
wow.
It's been great.
You just blow me away, man. When you were a little kid, when did you pick up your first guitar? How did that happen?
Well, I was picking up a guitar and acting like I was playing guitar. Some would say much like I still do. But I was acting like I could play guitar before I could tune a guitar. And so I was playing the guitar at 8 years old, actually tuning it and playing it when my brother, Stephen, was getting lessons, and he would bring home his lessons, and I would sort of take his lessons and then kind of run with it. Well, he kind of lost interest, and I gained interest, so I just kept going.
Yeah.
I started playing in earnest at about 8 years old, learning. I think my first song was Gloria by Van Morrison and Them. and as many kids' first song was, but that was my first song. And I just kept going. I'm self-taught, kind of blues rock guitar player. And I was always fascinated in all the instruments in the band. I got fascinated with drums for a while and keyboards for a while and everything, lead singing. I wanted to do all of it, right? So I flirted with all of it. But I think it was when I was in my junior high school band with another guy named Brian. Brian England was his name, the son of the great Cloris Leachman, actress. Brian had a drum set. We wanted to start a band, and he had a really impressive double bass drum, big double black drum set, and he was really wild on the drums. And he was easily a better drummer than I was, but I was also playing guitar at the time, so I just said, okay, cool, you play drums, I'll play this guitar. And that pretty much cemented my choice, was just out of necessity to start a band with my best friend.
That's really cool. Whatever happened to Brian?
Brian, well, he's no longer with us. He passed about 31 years ago. He had a problem with substance and stuff like that. So, yeah, unfortunately, he's one of the good guys that we got lost, that we lost along the way.
Well, I'm really sorry to hear that. That's it's devastating, and you never really get over it. I don't understand this. Well, you go closure. I'm like, what are you talking about closure? There's just, time and space, I guess, and then you work it out through your music or whatever reduces anxiety in your world. Let me ask you this. Right now, I'm getting the picture that you're probably in Santa Monica, right? Over in that area?
Well, actually, right now I'm out in Palm Springs.
Oh, Palm Springs. Excuse me. All right.
Yeah.
Let's go to Santa Monica because it's such a fun place. The end of
let's go there.
The end of Route 66. The characters that are up on the boardwalk area. The guy who's the rock and roll Jesus and whatever else they got going on. Do you sometimes go over there and just get out your guitar and play on the Santa Monica Pier? You ever do things like that?
I haven't yet, but I sure go down there just to walk and take it all in and just get out there in the sun and in the beautiful sky and look at the ocean. Yeah. I'm not far from the ocean. I'm 4 blocks away, and it's a magical place to wake up. That's for sure.
That is really cool. I can't help but think when I go and visit the area, I go to Disneyland, then I make sure I go to Santa Monica. I might stop at Pink's or some of the other places that everybody goes to. But when I get to the Pacific Ocean, this is what's going through my mind. You might find this funny. Fukushima water. And my wife goes, oh, it's fine if your daughter and I go in there, but you're not going in there. I'm like, no, Fukushima water, man. I just can't help but think that. Great place, a lot of fun. I love Southern California. There's a lot of energy to it, and it's not for everybody. Sort of like New York is not for everybody, but definitely a great place.
Yeah, and for some places, it's just a nice place to visit. But I'm born and raised in Los Angeles, and when you're born and raised in Los Angeles, eventually you're just going to come up with the fact that, move west is sort of the code. But I was just, funny enough, talking about Santa Monica, I was just looking, waking up to my messages, and somewhere on Twitter I found a clip of Tommy James and the Shondells on the beach at Santa Monica filming Where the Action Is,
wow.
Which was a weekly or daily show that I attended as a kid. I went down there while they were filming on the beach at Santa Monica and watched the Beau Brummels and the Seeds and some other big band at the time. I can't really place it right now. So I was getting garage rock into my blood veins directly the year that it was a big deal, 66, 67.
Yeah, you're right there in the heart of it. That has to be cool. And obviously you got into some Beach Boys, right? How can you not?
Yeah, for sure. Sort of the lineage of exposure to rock and the way it rolled out, was the originals, Little Richard, Elvis, Chuck Berry, Fats Domino, Everly Brothers, Rick Nelson, all those guys I was exposed to as a little tiny kid because I had an older sister who was 15 years older than I, Jean Ray, who went on to be a folk rock star in a band called Jim and Jean. But I was exposed to all that first wave, as a little infant, and because I am that old. But then along came like guitar rock, like Duane Eddy and early rockabilly stuff, and then I got exposed to R&B on a transistor radio. So now I'm hearing Wolfman Jack playing all the coolest rhythm and blues and doo-wop. So you're getting the real thing, and then comes a very white version of doo-wop in the form of the Beach Boys. And I was colorblind, of course. I loved the Beach Boys, too, so I loved it all. And, I really got into that fever. And then along came a little bit of folk, and then came Motown, and then, boom, there were the Beatles and everyone who followed through the door behind them, the British invasion. So it was in quick succession. That was really one year after another phenomenal musical movement began.
Well, and then you had the whole, I'm going to just call it album-oriented rock thing that was going on in California. Fleetwood Mac to me was always an English band. All of a sudden, the release of Rumors and maybe Fleetwood Mac 1975 sort of changed that. And I remember, I don't know where you were, but the first time I heard any track from Rumors, could have been The Chain, could have been whatever track. I forget all the great songs.
Yeah,
Gold Dust Woman. I was in Lake Havasu City, Arizona, and I was traveling through the desert. And every time I hear a track from that album, I just think about being in the desert of Southern California. I'm not even from there, but it's that time of, I guess, musically, where there was so much going on. You had so much to choose from, so much variety. And then you had the great disc jockeys like Wolfman Zach, or over here, the Scott Meanies and the Cousin Bruceys, all those guys, and introducing us to all of those great sounds, and it created magic. And then you started to, I don't know if you did this, but I started to have this picture of, you wanted to be the performer, I wanted to be the disc jockey. What would that sound like? The energy and all of that stuff.
So cool, yeah.
Yeah, and then when you're finally doing it, you're like, somebody pinch me, and a lot of people. I don't know if you find this happens to you, but a lot of people think that we're multimillionaires. We have money out the wazoo. I mean, yes, you are in Palm Springs having a great time, probably playing golf, looking at a great scene. But, it's not anything like that. Now, going over to your site, which is brianray.com, one of my favorite photos, besides, featuring the music that you have, which I'm telling you, I love the Tears of the Clown. I love how you did that. It's fantastic. It's got to be a number one hit.
Man, thank you so much. Yeah, it's up on the charts, man. It's doing really good. It entered the charts at Classic Rock at number 10, which is a great start.
Well, I think that a lot of classic rock stations are realizing that they better start making a move here and being a little bit proactive and start finding the artists that are out there that can add to their spice, if you will, to the format itself. Because if you grew up listening to that genre of music, you expected to hear new songs. So we expect it, and we expect them to be really good. And people have no idea, Bill, Brian, how great the music is, especially with Little Steven and Wicked Cool Records and the stuff that you're doing and the various artists that are along on your label mates. I want to talk to you about this thing, this car that you're standing in front of. This is, wow. Is this a Cadillac? What is that thing?
Yeah. Well, I got a fascination with, 50s, 60s, 70s American cars. And it's just a part of being a Californian. It's part of being a kid. It's also something I guess I've never gotten over, but I got fascinated with this one rare, sort of crazy Cadillac that came out in 1957 and 1958, 2 years only. It's a Cadillac. It's a Cadillac Eldorado Brougham.
Yes.
Brougham.
With suicide doors. You got the
suicide doors that open from the middle, right? It looks like a two-door until you realize that it is a four-door, but a suicide door arrangement. And that means that the rear doors open from the front of the car towards the back. And then it features a brushed stainless steel roof, which is very striking,
wow.
And an interior that looks like Dean Martin's living room. And
yeah.
It's not as large as you would think this car is. It's a lot smaller than the big, famous, iconic, giant fin Cadillacs of 59 and 60 and on. It was actually called a luxury compact, but it's just a rare, wild car, and I got fascinated with it years ago, and it was way out of my price range, and I just sort of saved money as I went along here with my work with Paul that I'm so fortunate to do, and then finally purchased one and restored it, spent a year working on it, and I won Best Preservation Class Post-War American Car at Palos Verdes, and I'm looking at the little award right now, the trophy. And it's not so much that, it's not the award, it's just the rewarding. I don't know, I'm kind of weird. I like the things that were designed and the music that was made from that time. I know it seems just like nostalgia, but I also get a feeling that we made things better then.
Oh, I agree.
They lasted longer.
Yeah.
And if I can, I'd like to preserve them, and that's what I'm doing here.
Well, I think that's great. In my mind, you're using all the gifts that God gave you to the best of your ability, and you're getting everything out of it. That's great. I want to talk more about. I want to talk more about this car because I'm excited about cars. My favorite car, if you must know, is a Dodge Challenger 1970 RT. Yes, that is a smoker, right? I got the
That's a smoker.
2015 Dodge Challenger RT Plus. I didn't want to get the SRT. First off, I'm in the New York City area. What do you think the chances are of me ever getting that thing over 100 miles per hour? It could do it easy. The RT does it. And it's got this mid-range where you hit the gas, boy, it goes, right? But the SRT, or let's just say 707 horsepower or plus that, you can get them up to 845 if you tune the engine up. What the hell am I going to do with that? I'll be going through brakes and shocks and tires every 6 months. That's NASCAR horsepower. I don't need that. But I wanted to get the experience of that. My first car ever was a 1972 Triumph Spitfire that I rebuilt myself.
Amazing.
Yeah, that was a cool car. But this one, I want you to tell me, what about the engine on this?
Well, it's a 365 cubic inch
wow.
V8, and it's gorgeous sounding. It starts up. This particular car, kind of a maroon colored Cadillac that you see on my Facebook page, is original car, unrestored, unrebuilt engine or trans. It's got 42,000 original miles on it.
Wow.
And once we got it all set up, and it hadn't run in 11 years, but once we tweaked it and replaced a few things that needed replacing and worked on the carbs and, of course, the brakes and the fuel and all that stuff, when we started up, it purred like a kitty cat, or like I should say, a big leopard.
Yeah.
But it's barely broken in, and it just sounds so good. Yeah, well, it's gorgeous.
What kind of sound system? The original, just AM?
Yeah, AM radio, man. It's actually in the Brougham. It was the very first year that they put out a transistor radio in a car, so that was a big deal.
Yeah. Did it have that high beam thing on the dashboard by any chance?
It sure does. Yeah,
that's hilarious.
It's called the Autronic Eye, which switches your brights on and off depending on the traffic coming your way. Yeah, it's just a really fun car. I like how I feel in that car. Maybe it has something to do with, my dad and keeping a connection to my late dad, who was a GM guy.
Oh, wow.
So maybe it's a little bit of that, too. I don't know.
Oh, no, that's great. I think keep it up, and I would like to see more pictures of your car at brianray.com along with the music. I just like that. Then
okay, I'll do it.
Another picture you have of you is surrounded by all of these guitars. How many guitars do you have in your collection? And if you're married, do you get in trouble by bringing home another guitar?
Yeah, well, that's probably why I'm not married right now. The guitars have taken over my house. No, I have a lot of guitars. Let's just say that. Just way more than I need to play. But ever since I was 12 years old and taking the number 9 bus down to the music stores in Santa Monica and spending all day on Saturday going from one music store to the other, just gawking and drooling over these guitars and watching these older guys that were now, 21 and they're playing their Telecasters. I was just, imagining, God, one day maybe I could do that. And I was 12 years old. Well, I have never gotten over that fascination for guitars, and it still plays out now. I'll see a guitar, and I get obsessed and I have to go get it. But I'm also letting go of some of them because interests change, and I want other comforts as well.
So are you selling them on eBay? What are you doing with those?
No, not so much. I'm just letting go slowly but surely, one at a time. But I've still got way more than I could ever use.
Oh, that's totally awesome. What about your record collection? You have a big vinyl collection?
I have a pretty good little vinyl collection. But, like you, I was exposed to radio as a kid, too. When I was 16 years old, I was going to radio stations like, I forget the call letters, but in Boulder, Colorado, and in New York City.
KBCO by any chance? Or KZY or KLZ? Was it AM?
No, it was the second one you named.
KAZY?
No. But anyway.
Oh, KBCO. All right, whatever. I used to work at KZY. Did afternoons. That was Colorado's first rock and roll FM. The AM was KLZ.
No, it was FM. So it could have been that one.
Oh, yeah.
Well, there was this long-haired, bearded guy who was a DJ there.
Yes.
And my sister was friends of his, and we'd go down there and hang out at the station.
Groovy, yeah.
So, I mean, I used to see walls and walls of vinyl. So when you ask me if I've got an impressive vinyl collection, the answer is no. Because I've seen what they really look like.
Well,
there's also a station in New York that has one of the most remarkable vinyl rooms you've ever seen.
Yes, it was 102.7 WNEW, which no longer exists the way it did back in the day when you were there. And that would have been where you had met maybe Scott Muni. Scott's on the radio. He was one of my best friends for a long time. And then you had Dennis Elsis and Richard Neer, Dano. I mean, they had some great disc jockeys, and really, boy, I'll tell you, they would just make your day so much better back in the old days. And the music was so much fun to listen to, and you got a potpourri of stuff. It just wasn't like one AC/DC song after another. They knew how to mix it up, and that's what I sort of do when I'm on the air, try to give everybody a little bit. And sometimes, I'll go through a period where I'm really into some of that new wave that everybody forgot. I don't know. Brand New Cadillac by The Clash. Love that song. You have to play that while you're riding around in your caddy, right? But baby,
okay, I got to check it out.
Brand New Cadillac. Yeah, it's fantastic.
Nice.
Now I
you
noticed
got a good rock and roll shout going.
Oh,
more of that.
After I've heard some of the demos of some of the artists that are well known, I think to myself, "Damn it, I could have been a lead singer at least." Yeah. Now I'm looking at your new single. It's available on 7-inch vinyl. You got the A side, which is One Heartbeat, that song that you wrote for Smokey in 1987, which I played over and over again. And I was doing overnights at the time to the point where, like, I almost get nauseous when I hear it because I think, oh, my gosh, I didn't get any sleep that night again, But it was like every 4 hours I had to play that song. I'm like, oh, my gosh. It was
amazing.
that, you know what I'm talking about. That and a couple of others. But do you have a full album, or is it just the 7-inch with the A and B side?
Yeah, so I was lucky enough to get a deal with those good people at Wicked Cool Records, which is Stephen Van Zandt, as your listeners may know, longtime cohort of Bruce Springsteen and the E Street Band.
No, I don't know him.
Also from The Sopranos, you might know him, or from Lilyhammer.
Yeah, Lilyhammer was great. Lilyhammer was his best work, I think.
Amazing.
Yeah, I love that show. Anyway, go ahead. So you signed the label with Little Steven.
Yeah, Little Steven, and he's super supportive, and in fact has taken on sort of an A&R role, which for those who don't know is artist and repertoire, and it's a role fulfilled by someone at a record label. In the good old days, when that A&R person, they were known as, would come to the artist and serve as a liaison between the label and the artist in helping direct and guide that artist to what the label wants most from that artist.
Right, so, and if you're a fan of Frank Zappa, you know exactly what these guys are about, except for Little Steven. Go ahead.
Yeah, exactly. So Little Steven is so generous with his time and energy, and he guided me a lot on the One Heartbeat single. That's my remake, as you were saying, of the song I wrote for Smokey 30 years ago. Well, so when it was time to do another single for Little Steven, he said, let's do 2 singles a year. So that's 4 songs a year.
Oh, I like that.
I thought, that's doable. I can do that. And then at the end of those what that would be, 4 singles. Let's look at maybe adding 2 more and then doing a vinyl release of all of them. And I said, well, that's super doable. It's all bite-sized pieces. I can get my head around that. And it fits in with my schedule with Paul. So I said about doing, 2 singles a year, and that's what I'm up to right now. And you'll just have to stay tuned to see if we turn that into an album at some point.
No, I like that concept because, in your mind, it's doable, and then you don't get overwhelmed thinking, oh, gosh, I got to come up with 10 songs. This way you go, I got 2 at a time. I'm going to make them smoke, man. And maybe I'll get inspired by another, song that I hear by accident. I've always wanted to hear somebody do something completely different with Red Sails in the Sunset. The lyrics are easy. The old people like it. But it hasn't been redone or remixed or anything fun for quite a while. I kind of like Nat King Cole. So I'm like you. I'm like, wow, that would be interesting. How would I reinterpret that to make it my own? I love this idea. This is fantastic. And I love the fact that you do it on 7-inch vinyl. What's the color of the vinyl?
Oh, man, it's a cool-looking cover. I'm looking at one right now. The guys at Wicked Cool, a guy named Luis Orizano. I can't pronounce his last name.
Don't worry about it.
I can't even spell it.
Here's how we do it in New York when we
the label.
Brian in New York when we can't figure out the guy's name, we go Louis A. Louis A. Right?
Yeah, Louis A. That's
Louis A. All right, go ahead, Brian.
No, I'm embarrassed now, but anyway, So Louis came up with this amazing cover, back and front, both done in the sort of early 60s fight and wrestling poster style.
Yes.
We got those sort of bright colors and splashy this and that and some inset photos. So you'll see the vinyl 7-inch. It says One Heartbeat, Brian Ray featuring Smokey Robinson. You turned over similar colorations, The Tears of a Clown, Brian Ray featuring Smokey Robinson. And there's pictures of Smokey and me and Smokey and me. And there's a photo of Pagliacci puppet,
Yes,
Pagliacci
I see that.
A very famous clown that gets name checked by Smokey in his lyric. And there you go. That's what it is.
And then you got your brand new bag underneath that with Brian Ray. You go to brianray.com. You can find all the goodies there, what Brian is up to, news about Brian, find out about the Bayonets. I crash, boom, bang. I got to get me one of those shirts. That's me, crash, boom, bang. I'm a klutz, yes.
So much.
Make sure I do that. Well, listen, it was
Super
great.
Enjoyable project.
It was great talking to you. When you come to New York, please try to stop by the studio. And if you're playing anywhere, let me know. I got to check your schedule. I have to come out and see it. I got to hear those songs live. It's just a must-have for me. Otherwise, 2019 is going to be 2019 is going to be a total loss. But Brian, before we go, I'd like to have a little bit of fun, right? You watch MeTV, I bet, because you like that era, right?
Sure.
Okay. Charlie's Angels. Who was your favorite angel and why?
That's interesting. Well, I was always a Kate kind of person. I thought she was hot.
Yeah, I like Kate.
And it was, to me, it was that she was sort of, I don't know, sort of low key and kind of not as vivid a character, not as brash, and I thought that was sexy.
Well, you know what was funny about her is her New York accents and how she would do these character actors as she was playing her part as the detective. I always thought that was funny. She was like the comedy relief. My favorite would be Cheryl Ladd. There's something about Cheryl Ladd. Right. I mean, I don't know. I mean, a lot of guys were into Farrah Fawcett. They all had the poster, but I'm like, no, I'm a Cheryl Ladd guy. And Jacqueline Smith. I mean, that, by the way, that is a great show. I don't care what anybody says. Now, Chips.
Okay.
Chips. Do you have a favorite episode in mind of Chips?
Not really. I guess by the time Chips came on, I was already out and about, out of the house. So,
okay. So was I, but.
But I have one little funny story. I was at a deli in Studio City. And I looked over there, and there's Eric Estrada at the next booth. And he jumps up at some point in his meal and starts doing push-ups in the middle of the restaurant in the walkway.
That's nuts.
I just thought, I'll have what he's having.
Oh, man, that is pretty funny. Are there any television shows that you still watch today? Like, I'll tell you real quickly. I love MASH. I like The Odd Couple. I like Charlie's Angels. I love Chips. That's a good show. I'm trying to think. Oh, Emergency. Gosh, I love that show. Remember that?
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah, that was a great one. And you know what?
Let me see.
Well,
Go ahead.
Before, I got to tell you this. Did you know that Julie London was married to Bobby Troop, Dr. Early? She was the nurse Dixie. And Bobby Troop wrote Route 66. They were both accomplished musicians and singers and stuff like that. And they were an emergency.
I had no idea.
Yeah.
I had
great?
no idea.
Yeah.
Crazy.
But go ahead.
No, I guess of the newer television shows, let's see, what do I watch? Let's see, there's a new one with Katie Seagal, Superior Donuts, that I think is pretty cute.
That's funny.
I like watching Charlie Sheen era.
2.5 Men.
2.5 Men.
Yeah, that's a funny show.
And then I love watching stuff like Bill Maher, and I was one of those guys that was a fanatic for Breaking Bad. And so, I guess times change now, Narco and all these other cool HBO.
Yeah,
and,
you know how you are musically? I'm TV-wise. I'm back in the 70s and 60s. I didn't make it to the present. I mean, I did like The Sopranos. I did like Lilyhammer. I love Lilyhammer. That was one of my favorite shows, especially the priest character. I don't know why, but I just thought that was funny. And I was watching The Sons of Anarchy when that was out, Mad Men. So maybe I'm not all that old-fashioned, but I like that, those kind of things. And I don't want too much violence. I just want to have some fun and laughs and maybe a little bit of mystery, but that's about it. I just don't dig the violent stuff at all. No way, shape, form. Not my thing. John Wayne used to make John Wayne used to make the movies, these great Army movies. We got the idea. We didn't have to see the blood and guts, and that's where the art is. Anyway, thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to talk with us today. I really do appreciate it. I wish you all the success in the world. I hope you come out with more singles. I look forward to everything you got coming out. We're going to play the heck out of the current release, Smokey Robinson and One Heartbeat. We're going to even roll that one too. So you got our support, and thanks for taking the time once again.
Thanks so much, Zach. Thanks for having me. What a great conversation. I hope you have a great rest of your day.
You too, buddy. Take care. Bye-bye.
Okay, bye-bye.